Welcome, everyone. I hope everybody's having a very nice day or evening whenever you're watching this. Tonight, we're going to be doing a class, a 4-part series in which we'll be talking about the 12 spiritual laws of the universe, also called the 12 universal laws, which is going to be a lot of fun. I actually taught this class last year, and this will be my first time doing it as a live stream on YouTube. And I think it's perfect for a few reasons. One, it's a good refresher for those of you who have seen the class or taken the class before. Hey, Pam, nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. And it's also good because the sun just entered Virgo, and that's all about self-improvement, right? And it should be really great. So if you're new to my channel, do welcome. I'm Joshua the Psychic. You can check out my website, psychicsun.com, for readings or coaching, parties, gift certificates. Also, your horoscopes for the latest lunation. Whenever you might be seeing this, the latest horoscopes for the lunation that we're currently in will be on my website, psychicsun.com. If you're catching this live, the latest lunation is the full moon in Aquarius, which is the full moon that we're going to be having, that we already had, that is going to set us up for the Virgo season, which started on August 22nd, which is tonight if you're catching this live. So class 1, we're going to be doing this series of 4 classes. It's going to be every other week that we do the spiritual laws, because we'll be doing your taroscopes for every lunation. So next week we'll be talking about the new moon in Virgo and how you can set yourself up for success for that. But after that class, you'll have class 2. So class 1, tonight we're going to be giving you an introduction to the universal laws and how you can manifest. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Taiwan. We're going to be talking about the Law of Divine Oneness, the first 3 laws, the Law of Divine Oneness, how connectedness can lead us to happiness and love. We're going to be talking about the Law of Vibration, how to raise your vibration for health and wealth and more, and the Law of Inspired Action, how to turn your desires into actionable plans, because that action is a very necessary component to your manifestations. So the 12 universal laws, just to give you an overview for the classes that will follow, they're recognized and discussed by spiritual teachers, philosophers, and authors. They're believed to be universal and unchanging, akin to the laws of physics. They operate consistently in everyone's life, either consciously or unconsciously. They're rooted in ancient spiritual traditions and esoteric teachings, and they are subject to varied interpretations and applications. If you have a different interpretation of any of these laws, I'd love to hear them. So our objective for this class is to understand the 12 spiritual laws of the universe and apply them to manifest health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. And once you master these laws, well, really, there's nothing that you can't do. Overall, the formula for manifestation, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know it's you decide who you want to be. And we're always making this decision. We're always making this decision on a regular basis. The example I always use is Charlie Chaplin entered a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest, and he got 3rd place. So we're constantly making the decision as to who we want to be. And then we show up as that person, and then we get what is reminiscent of our self-construct. Number 2, after you make the decision, number 2 is you trust the decision. Okay, this decision is good for me. I'm going to trust that I'm this person, i.e., I'm this person who is able to fall in love. I'm this person who's able to be a multimillionaire, etc., etc., etc. And then the 3rd part is decision maintenance. So it's essentially just making sure that you're acting like you trust the decision that you've already been making. So for instance, say you are wanting to fall in love and you're going out, but your old self-construct is like, nobody ever likes me and I never find anybody I like. Well, you got to realize that you've made the decision, like, I'm a very lovable person. I love everybody and everyone loves me, etc. And if you find yourself getting negative and reverting back to the old identity, that's another decision. So when you say, oh, geez, here it is again, a whole bunch of losers here, nobody I like, blah, 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 you got to correct yourself and say, oh, no, I made the decision that I'm this type of person who easily finds people to appreciate and enjoy. So you have to, it's not like you said it and you're done. You have to constantly remind yourself of who you decided that you need to be so it becomes automatic, right? Because you've been practicing your old vibration, your old identity for quite some time. So it's not very easy to just switch your self-construct and decide to become somebody else. It takes work and it takes discipline is a big part of it. And what's cool is when you have a different reaction to something than you normally would, that's when you know you've changed. And you'll see that develop as we work with these laws. And we're going to be talking about that formula over and over again, just because it bears repeating. So here are the 12 universal laws that we're going to discuss in this series. There's the law of divine oneness. We're going to go over this tonight. Everything in the universe is connected. What affects one thing affects everything. It's the law of one. Then we're going to talk about the law of vibration, how everything has a vibration or frequency, and this determines how things will manifest. The law of inspired action. This is one of the laws that we often forget about, or a lot of people who had watched The Secret about 14, 17 years ago when it came out. One of the issues with The Secret is that it didn't really focus on how we need to take action. We need to give our dreams feet, right? So to manifest our desires, we must take action that aligns with them. Then, of course, the law of attraction, which is the most common of these 12 laws, how positive thoughts attract positive events, negative thoughts attract negative events, etc. Then we're going to talk about the law of correspondence, how patterns repeat on all scales, macrocosmic and microcosmic events mirror each other. One of the easiest ways to look at this is through actually the mirror. When you're looking at a mirror and however you see yourself, if you're scowling to yourself in the mirror because you don't like how you look, well, you're going to see that reflected back. Likewise, if you are looking at yourself in the mirror and you're appreciating yourself, you're going to see that reflected back to you. People are going to say nice things about you. You're going to see nice things in other people as well, because our own self-criticism is, of course, projected onto other people, right? What we don't like about ourselves, we tend to not like in other people. Then we have the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, which is great because this law suggests that we all have the power to change our lives by changing the energies that we surround ourselves with. You know how they say we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? Well, we're focusing on them, right? So you can change your vibration by changing your focus, and you can change the energy of not just yourself, but what is around you, your manifestations. Then we have the law of cause and effect, how every action has a consequence. This is often called karma. Then we'll talk about the law of compensation, how abundance flows into our lives in many forms and is related to the good and the bad that we wind up doing. You could see how all of these laws sort of interrelate, how the law of compensation, we give and then we get. That's similar to the law of one, right? Because you're giving, when you're giving to somebody else, you're really giving to yourself, right? There's the law of relativity, how everything is relative and it can only be evaluated in relation to something else. That law teaches us perspective. We're going to talk about the law of polarity, how everything has an opposite. We'll talk about the law of rhythm, how everything has a natural cycle, evident in the ebb and flow of life's circumstances. And then the law of gender, how everything has a masculine, yang, and feminine, yin energies, which play a role in creation and manifestation, and how we need to balance those, right? So let's get into tonight's 3 laws. The first one we're going to talk about is the law of divine oneness. So everything in the universe is connected. What affects one thing affects everything. So this is an important law. It's the first among the 12 universal laws. It talks about how everything and everyone is interconnected, how we're all part of a greater whole. And it teaches us that our actions, thoughts, and beliefs have a ripple effect, influencing others and the universe at large. And separation is an illusion. We're never really truly alone. We are all one. You can even see this in the spelling of the universe, uni, one, verse, right? So the important thing to remember with the law of one is that you contain it all. You are the I am, right? And that's why it's very, very important that you're very judicious and careful about whatever you put after that statement, I am, because you contain it all. You can be whatever it is that you want, but it's what you're focusing on that determines your self-construct, your identity, right? So if you contain it all, and you're focusing on that part of you that can never get into a good relationship or who can never find love that she really work that she really likes, etc. Again, that is a part of you. It is you, right? But there is also, because you contain it all, a part of you that always finds the perfect lover or always finds joy in the work that she does, etc. So this law is really, really important. It's pretty awesome. In a web, if one strand is touched, the entire web shivers. So it is with our lives. So we can't really do anything without it affecting other things. And that's why our thoughts are super important. The language that we use is super important. And you want to make sure that you're connected and you're feeling connected so that you get to the point of you're going to be loving to your fellow human beings because they are you. The philosophy being that everybody is ourselves pushed inside out. So, in a dream, for instance, they say when you're analyzing a dream that everybody in the dream is really you. Sure, they might be coming out as this person or showing up as that person, but really it's a different aspect of yourself. Well, taking that a step further, everybody that you see in your life is a version of you, right? Because you can't experience that which you're not the vibration of. So say you have a horrible person in your life, right? Well, that might be the darker aspects of your personality that you deny, that your consciousness denies to protect you. So in your relationships, you might find your unlived self. In fact, in all of our relationships, we find our unlived self, right? So we are all connected, even though on the surface, there is that illusion of separation. And that's why whatever you wind up doing, it does have a ripple effect. That's why it's super important to send love to people, especially your enemies, because essentially you want your enemies to be happy and well off so they leave you alone, right? But also you want to make sure that you're sending love to everybody, including your enemies, because as they say, curses like chickens come home to roost, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to be loving and caring to your fellow human beings, because at the end of the day, you are them and they are you. So super important to keep that in mind. So to embrace the law of oneness, you want to just shift your perspective. View yourself as an integral part of the cosmic web, fostering a sense of belonging and unity with the universe. One of the things that's super helpful with this, that if you see yourself as not this individual separate entity, you're going to have more power, right? Because then it's not just you who is going after your hopes and your dreams and your wishes and your goals. You're connected to the all. You're connected to everyone. So the difference being, if you're a separatist, you're achieving your goals and going after your goals as this one singular entity, which clearly is not as powerful if you have the whole universe that is working with you for you to attain your ends, right? So when you're talking about manifestation, that interconnectedness is super important just for leverage, because clearly you're going to be more powerful if you're connected to everyone and everything than if you're this just singular individual, right? So that's helpful. Cultivating compassion is really helpful. Embracing compassion and empathy, recognizing that the well-being of one affects the well-being of all. So you want everybody to be doing really, really well. You want everybody to be super happy and super rich and super successful. And if you're watching this class, I would suggest that you have this silent intention that everybody who is connected, that is watching this, obviously outside of this class too, but you could have this assumption that everybody who's watching this class is going to be happy. They're going to be able to fulfill their greatest wishes and goals. And in wishing that for other people, you're going to be attracting that to yourself. Mindful actions. You want to be mindful of your actions and thoughts, understanding their potential to create ripples in the interconnected web of existence. So you want to always make sure that you're doing something that you're proud of. I think it's often helpful to really look at yourself, even if you don't see yourself as a role model, or maybe you're not a parent and you don't see yourself as a parent. Remember, like, what kind of example are you setting? Because you want to make sure that you're showing up in a way that is worthy of imitation. You want to think, well, if everybody did this, that would be okay, right? And it's your choice. You are part of the all, right? You are part of the whole entire universe. There's no separation, but you get to choose what or whom you want to merge with and become one with by your focus. Hey, Kasmar, nice to see you. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. So you contain it all, everything. So, for instance, there's a version of you that is madly, happily in love, right? Might be out there in the field. There's a version of you that is flourishing financially, who has great friends, who has groups that she belongs to that she really enjoys. So you contain it all. If you can imagine it, it exists on some level because you can't imagine non-existence. So because you contain it all, the onus is on you to direct your focus to what it is that you want, because you have the choice to choose whatever it is that you want. Abraham Hicks, she often says, Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham, often says that the universe loves you so much that it gives you that free will to even choose bondage, right? So you contain it all. If you want to focus on the aspect of you that never finds the right person, or always gets betrayed, or always gets looked over for a position, etc., that is completely your prerogative. But because you contain it all, you could zone in on this other identity that gets what you want, right? You contain it all. It's all about your focus. So that's why whatever we focus on grows. There's no other main rule. That's why vision boards are super important. I actually did a video on vision boards. You can find that in the description below. That might be helpful to you. People watch. Make sure you are doing the right thing. Thank you, Kasmar. Exactly. It's, it's important to remember that, and you also want to remember that your subconscious is always watching, right? Your subconscious is always listening. So oftentimes it's what we do when nobody is around that really creates our reality. So if you're super cool when you're around other people, but you're a nervous wreck when you're by yourself, well, the universe is probably going to show you evidence of you being that nervous wreck, right? Because your subconscious is always listening, and it knows what's up. You can't lie to the subconscious. So thank you for that. So, yeah, it's your choice. One nice quote you might be able to say, if you want, is Florence Scovel Shinn's quote: "As I am one with God, the undivided one, I am one with my undivided love and undivided happiness." So if you are connected to everything, why not be connected to what you love? And you can actually check out some Florence Scovel Shinn quotes. I did some videos on her, reciting a few of her chapters, but also affirmations. 2 sets of affirmations from Florence Scovel Shinn I did. One is for love and marriage, and another one is, I think, just for abundance and success. Nice to see you, John Morgan. Thanks for joining tonight. I hope you're doing well. So you can say that because you want to get comfortable with it. So if you want to manifest with the law of one, remember, you contain it all. You contain everything. So you're already one with your desire. Whatever it is that you want, you are already connected to it. It's your belief in separation that creates the illusion that your desire eludes you, right? Of course, if you're constantly, you've historically have experiences of being let down, you're going to see that separation. But when you realize that you're all connected, you're connected to everything, you can zone in on that and know that you are one with your desire. The creator. Now, if you're one with God, the Almighty One, you're also the creator, right? Because he's the creator. So you can trust in your ability to create or co-create with the universe. You can use the universe, you can use God, you can use Jesus, whatever feels right for you. But if you're one with everything, you're also one with your higher power. Positive vibes. When thinking of anyone throughout the day, be sure to send them love and light. And do please, for the love of God, stop yourself before wishing anyone harm. Because the law of one suggests we're all connected. So you don't want to hurt anyone, because you'll be hurting yourself invariably. So remember, to just, sometimes it can be tough, right? Because some people, we might feel that they deserve punishment, right? But you don't want to wish them that. You want to wish them love and light, and that'll keep you in the clear. Also, remember not to envy. This can be very tricky, I think, especially with social media now being so prevalent. We're constantly seeing these people that are absolutely beautiful and living these luxurious lives with such happiness and fulfillment. And, that's wonderful for them. And we've got to allow them to show us what can be done, looking at them as examples, right? As opposed to people that we should envy. So when anyone achieves something that you want or has anything that you want, you need to align with it and you need to be okay with it. If we chastise somebody who has what it is that we want and we say, oh, look at that person, like, it's so ridiculous, this person doesn't deserve it, what are we doing? But we're creating a separation between what they have and what we have, right? So if somebody achieves something that you would like, then you want to rejoice for them, because what God did for them, they can do for you and more. So you never want to have envy if you can help it. Just try to pull yourself back and retreat from saying anything or voicing anything that might be negative, because when you're envious of somebody, it essentially is you telling your subconscious that you're bitter, right? What you want to do is you want to say, good for them. That's great, right? Because again, what God has done for them, they can do for you. It's only if you don't believe that God can do the same for you that you're going to be envious. So just watch out for the envy. Be happy that this has happened for this person, because again, we're all connected. And if it happened to that person, you can zone in on that person, align with their energy, and get it too. So release any resistance, any envy, and that'll be helpful too. So become one with your love. For you are one with all. Whatever it is that you love, don't see any separation, right? So for instance, here's an example of how you might want to manifest love with the law of divine oneness. So this is a list of what a typical client I have might want, right? They want this man, and he's strong. He's a real man. He's a real man. He's a man's man. He's mature. He's responsible. He loves to appreciate, support, protect, and serve you. He's amazing in bed. And neither of you have ever experienced anything so amazing before. He loves your body. You love his body. He makes you feel loved, worshipped, and adored. There's space in his life perfect for somebody like you. He's beautiful with the most perfect eyes, and he has plenty of money and is generous in sharing it with you. So again, if this is what you want, and it's a good idea to make a list of all the things that you want in a mate, and you just zone in on this, and then you love it, right? You go through the list. You love that he's strong. You love that he's mature. You love that he's amazing in bed, etc., etc., etc. And as Joe Dispenza, I think, said once, if you are looking to find love, well, make a list of all the traits that you want in this person and be sure to embody those traits. Like attracts like, right? The other side of it is that, and we'll talk about this more in our last class, Law of Gender. If you're wanting somebody to be, a man's man and show up for you, you got to make sure you're being the receptacle of that, right? And we'll talk further about this in later classes, but there are a lot of women, for instance, that are pushing, trying to make things happen, and they're not allowing men to be men, right? So they want men to step up to the plate and be men, but they're not being real women, or they're not embracing the divine feminine so that divine masculine figure can come forth. We'll talk about more of that later. But yeah, that's a way of focusing on love with the divine oneness. Some exercises you might do to work with this law. Determine what you want to manifest in terms of love. Say it's a specific individual. However, I would say really, really, really try not to be too specific, because you never really know what you're playing with. You might on the surface think, this is who I want. This is exactly who I want. I know it. I want it. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. This person could be horrible for you. This person might look good on paper and might be the biggest nightmare ever, right? So it's better for you to go general and allow the universe to fill in the space, right? Because you don't know what you're playing with. And I also think that with these universal laws, in terms of karma, you never want to force anybody to do anything against their will. You never want to force anybody to fall in love with you, right? What good is that? You want to be loved because you're so lovable, because it's natural for you to be loved. So I would try not to be specific. If somebody doesn't want you, that is their loss. Do not twist anybody's arm to be with you, right? I would go more general, because oftentimes if you go more general, then what you'll be able to do is you'll actually find that the universe can Frankenstein people for you, i.e., well, maybe this person you attract has this old flame's eyes, and maybe he also has this old flame's personality, or maybe he's really good in baseball like this other old flame, whatever. You will actually see the universe Frankenstein together this perfect person for you. Whereas that one guy over there, that old flame, well, he wasn't good for you. Or this one over here wasn't good for you. So the universe will do a composite sketch, so to speak, of these different versions that you might align with. So be general. I would definitely be general. Ooh, I like this. Okay, let's answer this question. Hi, Bob's assistant. How do you align with somebody's energy who you want, who you admire, somebody who has achieved something you want to achieve? Okay, thank you so much for that question. That might be one of my favorite questions I ever got. So essentially, it's all about focusing, right? So say you're watching them. First, you just want to make sure that you're around their energy. You listen to their interviews. You watch them being interviewed. You watch their work, right? You focus on them, because what we focus on grows, and what we worship, we become. So even if you're not trying to emulate this person, by virtue of you focusing on them, you're going to start picking up on that energy. Remember, you're at one with everything. It's what you focus on. So you want to do it naturally, watching them and emulating them to a certain extent, but you want to really look and see how the energy moves throughout their body. Obviously, you can't see the energy move throughout their body, but what is the language of their body? How do they move? What does it feel like to you, right? What would it feel like to be inside their body? What would it feel like to be looking at life through their perspective? And you want to do it with a soft lens. You don't want to white knuckle it, because you're naturally already connected to this person. You're one with everything, even this person you really admire. So all you need to do is focus on this person with a light lens, a light focus, and allow yourself to just align. See what your body feels like when you're mirroring their energies. Literally, you can like watch them and move like they might move. And that'll help. But I also would just absorb everything that they've done, everything. Listen to their books, listen to them talking, watch them walk like them. We're all imitators. Like every single one of us. If I had you walk across the room, you're going to walk like your mother or your father or whoever was around you when you were really young, because how else would you learn how to walk? We are imitators. So I don't think it's a bad thing either to try to emulate anybody that you admire. But thank you very much for that question. Wasn't it a good question, Casmar? Yeah, I thought so too, right? Hello, Matt Gura. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining tonight. So thank you so much again, Bob, for that question. So otherwise, in terms of love, again, I wouldn't go too specific, but say you want to manifest somebody that you have not met yet, which is the best way to go, because you don't know what you don't know. And the universe can bring you somebody who's way, way, way better than that person that you might be still carrying a torch for. So in order to do that, imagine that perfect person, right? And then bring to mind something that you have loved before. Maybe it's another person. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's a painting. And as you focus on what it is that you love, contemplate and essentially transfer the energy of what you love to the other person. I.e., maybe you love this song. Like think of, you never hear that song, Annie's Song by John Denver. What an amazing song that is. That is such an amazing song. I mean, I would find it hard for anybody not to love that song. So say you love Annie's Song, right? So you're listening to this song, and in the song, he's essentially connecting with nature and everything that he loves, right? With nature and how she's like a storm in the desert and a walk in the rain, and she fills up his senses, right? So when you're listening to this song and feeling the emotions that he conjures up for you, focus on what you want, right? Focus on the love you've yet to meet, or who you want to meet, etc. So you'll be transferring that energy, and that could be a lot of fun and a cool little exercise. So you may want to picture, from your heart to their heart out in the ether. Again, you can picture an avatar or, the perfect guy in your mind, etc. And think of a pink light coming from your heart, going out into the universe toward them, toward their heart, right? And you can see these two hearts collide, right? And you want to just allow yourself to get used to that, because anything that winds up happening on the material world, it's already happened here. Excuse me. Anything that's happened on the material world, it's already happened out there in the ether. So you want to allow yourself to get comfortable. That's why visualization is so important. It helps us get more comfortable with our desire, right? Because at the end of the day, if we were more comfortable with it, we would have it, right? It's a lack of comfortability. It's a lack of perhaps deservability or a sense of worthiness that we don't have what it is that we want. Say you want money. So remember, with money, it's perpetually in motion. Money never sleeps. It's constantly being circulated, constantly. Millions and millions of dollars are constantly being traded, circulated throughout the universe at every moment in every single day. So you got to remember, the universe is awash with abundance. There is plenty of money for everybody who wants to be a multimillionaire to be a multimillionaire. Of course, there are plenty of people who don't want to be a multimillionaire or a millionaire. And therefore you get to be one even more so, right? So you want to decide how much you want to manifest, right? Maybe it's $1 million. Maybe it's an extra 10,000 this month, whatever it might be. And what you want to do is you want to recall a moment. Maybe you recall a moment, maybe it's in the present moment in which you have plenty of money and you just want more. Or maybe you can imagine a moment in time in which you would have plenty of money, right? And you want to imagine how that feels, or remember how that feels. How would you feel if you had that financial abundance, right? You would feel super supported and really, really secure. And you'd feel really, really abundant. You'd probably feel really generous. You'd be like, oh, geez, I have all of this money. I can't wait to make people happy with it. I can't wait to buy these things, right? You're going to feel really full, really supported, really grounded, really stable, and most likely very, very generous and excited, right? So you want to clock that vibration and you want to stay there. You want to discipline yourself to stay there. Just got to focus on money. Money is very, very particular. It has a very specific scent. It's sort of like this leathery scent, but not quite leather, and has a very particular feel. Money, right? Against your fingers. So you might want to imagine that. You might want to see your bank balance being really robust, or you want to essentially allow yourself to embrace the feelings of financial abundance and know that you're one with all the money in the world, right? If you're uniting with the wealth of the world, you're going to allow it to flow through you, right? Because remember, you contain it all. You contain all of that money. It's a matter of you got to find within yourself your talent, your self-expression, your gifts, etc., your natural richness, and allow it to flow through you. So you're not going and getting money. You're releasing the wealth that is inherently yours because you contain it all. You contain a version of yourself, perhaps, that is completely impoverished. You also contain a version of yourself that is really, really, really rich. So if you want more money, you've got to zone in on that part of you that is really rich and start expressing yourself, because motion creates the self, which we're going to talk about when we talk about inspired action. Additionally, we have the law of vibration. So the law of vibration suggests that everything has a vibration or a frequency, and this determines how things manifest in the physical. So everything is vibrating. Everything vibrates. So whether it's big or it's small, everything vibrates and is in motion, even though we often can't see it. But everything that's lighter is actually a vibration, right? This little stick is a vibration, right? Everything is vibration. And different vibrations will lead to different manifestations, right? So you want to be the vibration of what it is that you want so you can manifest it, right? And then you'll see it because like will attract like, which we'll further talk about. So thoughts, feelings, places, things, everything has their own vibration. And I would say that especially during Virgo season is upon us. Happy Virgo season if you're watching this live. First day of Virgo season, August 22nd, 2024. Virgo season is all about nothing being around that does not have any practical purpose, right? So dirt, for instance, has no purpose because that's vibrating at a low frequency. So one of the coolest things to do, especially around Virgo season, is to clean, right? Cleaning can be super fun. It's a very practical thing to do, right? Because it makes everything that is around you, think of your floors. When you wash your floors, they're vibrating now with clarity, right? Especially if you decide to use anything with your floors. Personally, what I love to do, depending on my mood, I'm very partial to Murphy's Oil soap. I really am. Although Pine Sol does probably a better job, but what I'll do is add some essential oil to it. So depending on what you might want to manifest, say you're looking for more love and pleasure, you could add some orange essential oil to your Murphy's Oil soap or your Pine Sol, or whatever you're cleaning your floors with. And you could do this under the new moon, and under the new moon cycle, the waxing moon, and you're saying, oh, I'm drawing in pleasure, I'm drawing in happiness, I'm drawing in creativity, positive energy, etc. Or if you're doing it under a waning moon cycle, right after the full moon, then you could say you're removing blocks, right? And all of that orange energy is going to be so positive that anything negative is going to go bye-bye, right? So you can do that with orange oil. You could do it with lemon. I think lemon essential oil is really good. It can be very, very brightening. If you're looking for money, maybe cinnamon. Although I would say if you're going to put cinnamon in your solution, you might want to balance it out with something like maybe a vanilla. Vanilla is really, really good. It's good for, well, it's an aphrodisiac, be forewarned, but it also is Venus, right? It's very Venusian energy. So you can do that too. Oh, you love Murphy's oil soap too? And you add extra orange oil too? That is funny. That is funny. Yeah, I can't get away from Murphy's. Do you remember that old commercial when these old ladies are cleaning this church and they're cleaning with Murphy's oil soap? And the tagline, which was so brilliant, was, if Murphy's oil soap is good enough to clean this house, isn't it good enough to clean yours? And as a result, I've been hooked since. So everything has their own vibration. Yes, Murphy's. We love Murphy's. I'm so glad. Yes, the pews. Exactly, Casimar. That was such a great commercial. So you essentially you got to tune into whatever it is that you're looking for, right? So say you can tell I'm from Boston with this reference. But if you want to listen to Kiss 108 FM, you can't put on 106.7 because then you'll be getting David Allen Boucher. And that's not Kiss 108, right? I don't know if anybody's still in the Boston area, New England area. Is Maddie in the Morning still on? I used to listen to him. I don't know if he retired, Maddie in the Morning. Well, let me know if you do. My point being, though, whatever you're wanting to listen to, whatever you're wanting to zone in on, you've got to tune yourself to that. So you can't tune into fear and anger and regret and get love and happiness and joy, right? You have to zone in. What does it feel like, right? And that's why it's super important to use your imagination, because your imagination is everything. With Saturn in Pisces now until 2026, we are having to be very, very disciplined and using our imagination. And when we're worrying, that's a misuse of our imagination, right? So you want to think about what it is that you want. Is it love? Is it extra money? Is it more friends? Is it more harmony? Is it more health? Whatever. What is that vibration? And can you zone in on it? And the easiest way to zone in on it is to focus on it. Focus on it with a soft lens, and very naturally, you'll start to feel your energy vibrate in alignment with that. So this is cool. The word vibrate comes from the Latin word vibratus, the past participle of vibrare, which means to shake, move to, and fro, rock, or tremble, which I did not know. So essentially, what you might want to do is when you're focusing on something that you like, feel yourself move. Feel how it affects your heartbeat. Feel how it affects the way that you sway, the way that you vibrate, right? So for Bob's assistant, who said, well, what do I do if I want to emulate somebody or get something that somebody else has? Well, you're going to focus on that person and you're going to start clocking and noticing, oh, that's interesting. I don't really usually use this side of my body as much, or I'm not as familiar with this as I had been before, because you want to start vibrating in a different way. And when it feels weird, that's good, because you got to get uncomfortable before you get comfortable, right? You got to get comfortable in the new state. So whenever you're focusing on something, even a song, that's why dancing is super important. That's why exercise can be super helpful, because you can essentially say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on this music and I'm going to run, or I'm going to dance, or I'm going to bike ride, whatever, to this energy, and I'm going to invite more love into my life. I'm going to remove blocks to more love or more money, whatever it is that you want. But remember that vibrating, it's literally you're vibrating, right? So you should experience some kind of stir within yourself when you're focusing on the law of vibration. So authentic resonance, if you're looking to manifest with the law of vibration, as we said, like tuning into a radio frequency to get the station you want, you got to attune yourself to the frequency of what you want. So zone in on what it would be like. But you need to remember to have a soft focus. Soften your resistance and reflect on your desire with a soft lens. Nothing serious is going on here. You're always manifesting. What we're doing in this class is teaching you how to manifest with intention. And if you have resistance to what it is that you want, you got to work on that. So resistance and insistence are big no-nos. So you don't want to resist and you don't want to insist, because that's not confidence. You want to have a sense of divine nonchalance. Of course you're going to get this, what you want. You're doing all the things. You're using a soft focus. You're allowing it to happen. You're becoming one with your desire. Now, it's not going to be straight away, right? Because there's an echo. You got to remember, you've been practicing the same vibration for a very long time. So you might get evidence of that. Think of an echo, right? Say you say an echo at 4:01 p.m. and then you say another echo at 4:02. Well, you might hear the echo that you said at 4:01, right? Because it's an echo. So you got to be patient, right? But whenever you're wanting something, you cannot be too crazy about it, right? It's almost like, think of the guy who wants the girl. He's not going to be throwing stones at her window every single night, or she's going to call the police. She's going to get a restraining order on him, right? You want to make sure that you're a natural vibrational match. So if you were confident in your desire, you're not going to be resisting not having it. And you're not going to be insisting that you get it, right? You're going to be chill about it because you know it's yours. It's just a matter of time, right? So you want to make sure that you have a very soft lens and you're not being too insistent or resistant. Now, if you have resistance to it, so say you're focusing on what you want and you're starting to feel uncomfortable, well, that's when you need to really look and see, well, what's going on? Do I not feel worthy about it? Am I worried that if I get this, then that's going to be a problem? Some people might not feel safe being vulnerable, being in love, right? Some people might not even feel safe having an outrageous amount of money, right? So if you have resistance to whatever it is that you want, you got to do a little bit of investigating and say, okay, well, would I feel safe if I had this? And don't brush it off really quickly. Of course I'd feel safe. No. See what is actually keeping you from your desire. Is it a matter of, like, for some people, they were taught to believe that money is the root of all evil, that only rich people are bad people, right? So this creates a conflict, right? Because you don't want to be a bad person, but you want plenty of money. But if you're seeing money as dirty and you're seeing rich people as bad, and you don't want anything that's dirty and you don't want to be bad, well, that's going to create a problem for you manifesting wealth, right? So you want to look at where you might be resistant or uncomfortable and work on your beliefs. Because at the end of the day, your beliefs are going to be what you use to create your reality. First, you create your beliefs, and then your beliefs create you. So you want to clock if there's any resistance at all. Additionally, you want to visualize. Use a soft focus. See yourself having it. State that you're doing it. Meditate on doing it, having it. And it has to feel natural. It has to feel like it's already yours. And I would say one of the main things to remember is that you got to tell yourself it's safe to have this desire. I mean, think about it, right? If you have a belief that it's not safe to have a lot of money, or it's not safe to be in love because it causes conflict. Some people, in terms of love, there's an old song by Michael Bolton a long time ago in the 90s. Love is a wonderful thing. Love is a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful song, but a lot of people, when they're either witnessing love with other people or they have role models, etc., love is not really a wonderful thing. Love causes a lot of heartbreak, right? So you want to make sure that if you're looking for love, what does love mean to you and what do you want it to mean? Well, this is interesting. As a fiction writer, I get into negative energy when I'm writing bad guy characters. That can be tough, not going to lie, or writing about negative incidents. Is there a way to protect yourself from attracting those things inadvertently? Thank you. Another really, really, really good question. So it's very, very tough. Because whatever you're focusing on grows, and your body cannot tell the difference. If you're a good writer or you're a good actor, your body does not know whether or not you're going through that trauma or you're writing about it or you're acting, because acting and writing are the same thing, really, energetically, because as a writer, you're acting out every single character you're in. So I would do a little bit of a ritual before you do your writing. So you have a really traumatic scene and you're talking about say disgust, right? That's one of the emotions. You're really disgusted with somebody. The opposite of disgust being trust, right? So you're focusing on this distrust that you have in terms of this scene. What you might want to do is beforehand do a little bit of a ritual. I'm only subjected to the highest and clearest influences. I'm going to go into this realm, but I'm not going to be negatively affected. I'm going to allow the energy to flow through me and to let it go. So if you can clock the writing that you're doing as a therapeutic experience, as you releasing that disgust or those negative feelings from you, that might be good. It's almost like you're purging, right? You could look at it as purging, but what I would do is, the prior planning is going to help determine what it is that you're going to have to go through and give yourself a little bit of a limit. Say you are on this, you're writing for a very long time and you're really getting into it and you're feeling all these horrible emotions. Well, remember that you need to call it quits at a certain point. And when you do, you want to close things up. You want to close the circle, essentially, and you want to allow yourself to perhaps smudge or get rid of the energy. It might help for you to shower or at least visualize water going over you. Because remember, your subconscious does not know whether or not you're imagining things or they actually have happened. And your body doesn't either. So you want to make sure that you're couching it as a healing experience and you want to do whatever you can to end it, right? End it and say, okay, well, now that I got that out of the way, I get to experience joy. And in a lot of respects, if you have a need to experience pain, well, writing is really good because otherwise you're going to be wanting to process your pain through your relationships or through things that are not great. So I hope that helps. And that's a really good question. And it's not easy for a lot of writers who are into the law of attraction. It's very, very tricky. Really tricky. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. So, yeah, essentially you want to remember that it's safe for you to have what it is that you want, because most of the things that you don't have, it comes with a sense that you will not be safe. A lot of people who want to be beautiful, for instance, well, it's not always safe for people to be beautiful. Your question is, I honestly don't feel I have an I because it's dependent on what others let me be. The spirit and the stuff, but not the substance, maybe? I don't know what you mean. Well, in a way, you're right? Because you can't be you unless somebody else is being them, in a way, right? That's why relationships are super important. You can't be you if you don't have another that can determine what you are not. But I would say that, you if you want to experience things that way, suspect. Okay, I thought so. If you again, you get to choose who you want to be. So in this instance, you honestly don't feel like you have an I because it's dependent on what others let you be. Now that's a decision. You can feel that way all you want, but you're making the decision. You're essentially saying that I choose to be dependent on somebody else to tell me who I am. You could make another decision if you wanted to and say, no, I'm going to decide to be this person irrespective of what other people want me to be. Now, granted, it sounds like you're probably used to being who you think other people want you to be, which quite frankly might not actually be who they want you to be, right? But because you're used to that, because you're used to that codependency, you might not think that it's possible. But again, at the end of the day, it's a choice. It might be a choice that you've practiced for a long time. It's second nature to you. But again, it's the decision. You've made the decision. If you want to be somebody else, you just need to make another decision. Trust the decision and act like you trust the decision. So what's for you is not going to pass you by. You want to interact, so I'll let them think whatever. I mean, I feel like there are different things. Like, sometimes we go along to get along. A lot of Libras do that. A lot of the seventh house people do that. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing as long as your boundaries aren't being trampled on. Let somebody think what they want to think. I mean, if you're conflict averse, which sounds like it, I mean, again, probably is working out well for you, but you get to make the decision of who you want to be whenever you want. So what's for you is not going to pass you by. But again, you got to make sure that you're still enough and you're quiet in your mind enough so that you are able to see what it is that you want to see. And you're not going to be able to experience anything that you're not the vibration of. A lot of times you'll see these like beautiful women that are walking down the road and they're with their friends, and the friend will be like, "Did you see that guy just check you out?" And she's like, "No." She's not vibrating to that level in which she's able to receive that approbation, right? Her self-construct isn't such that she thinks that she's sexy and beautiful, right? So she's not able to see the men that are like flabbergasted when she walks by, which keeps love away from her, right? She could have plenty of people. Same thing in terms of a job, etc. She doesn't feel like she's going to be able to get the job that she wants, then she's going to go past it several times and miss it because she doesn't believe that it's true. So you want to vibrate with what it is that you want, right? And then you'll be able to see it. So applying the law of vibration. Align with your positive vibrations to attract the desired experiences. Remember, especially during Virgo time, use your body. Use your body. We are earth on earth, right? And we have earthy bodies and we have flesh and bone, right? We want to use that because, again, the body is really, really helpful. So you want to make sure that you're vibrating aligned with what it is that you want. What does the language of the body speak when you walk across the room? Are you walking across the room as somebody who is very, very fulfilled and very, very happy and very much in love? Are you walking across the room as downtrodden, taken advantage of, used, abused, betrayed, etc., right? Because the body, again, it gives a great cue to the subconscious mind. So make sure that your body and the way that you flow your energy, that's going to affect how you vibrate and what you attract. So make sure you're playing the part, right? All the world's a stage, as Shakespeare had said. And what you want to do is also look at how your vibration is different now that you've decided to try on some new energy. How do you feel differently now that you're at one with your desire? And the other thing is you got to keep the station on. Unfortunately, it's not a set it and forget it. If you can, more power to you. But for most of us, because we've been practicing a vibration that is not preferable or doesn't give us the results that we want, we have to remember decision maintenance. So, for instance, say you find this beautiful, awesome guy in our big love part, right? And you send him a text and he doesn't respond. Not even within an hour. Oh no. The old you might say, another one bites the dust. He's not interested in me. Right? Because again, you're assuming things that you have no idea. I mean, he could be in a meeting. He could have fallen asleep. His phone may have died. And let's just face it. Not everybody is on their phone constantly. Nor should we be, probably, right? So she's jumping to conclusions. He doesn't like me. He hates me. Then what is she going to do? Well, she's going to come from this defensive place of he doesn't like me. She's going to be a bitch to him, perhaps, and then she's going to sabotage her relationship. So you see how her self-perception is going to create her reality. If, however, she is very, very, very confident and she's not attached to anyone, she doesn't want anything that doesn't want her, he doesn't text her back, okay, well, that's fine. Maybe there's somebody else for her. Maybe he's busy. Maybe he doesn't use his phone as much. She's going to be really, really relaxed about it, very cavalier. And when he does contact her, she's not going to be defensive. She's not going to be bitchy. And she's not going to be in this victim mode. She's going to be like, hey, what's up? And then they're going to get to go on their next date. And goodness knows what could happen in their relationship, right? But you got to remember, if you're not receiving that text, for instance, say you're in this woman's position and you start getting nervous, you got to remember, oh no, you made the decision to be the new you. The new you is not going to react emotionally, because as long as you're not reacting emotionally to something that is fearful, right? Or something that you're just jumping to conclusions, you're not going to experience anything negative. But as soon as you wind up having an emotional reaction, because emotion is energy in motion, you're starting a new trajectory with this guy that is not positive at all. You're creating a tragedy, not a love story, right? So you want to make sure that you're aligned with what it is that you want, and you're aligned with who it is that you want to be. If you were really confident, you're not going to give a damn that he didn't text you within an hour. You're going to chill out about it, right? So you got to adjust your station, right? And you got to remember that you can always go back to the previous state that you were in, being insecure, feeling unloved, etc. But then you're making another decision, right? You're just making yet another decision. So the formula, again, you decide who you want to be. Say you lose your job. Well, when people lose their job, it's really interesting. You see two different things, right? Some people are like, what am I going to do? I'm really screwed now. I have no insurance, and I have this, and I have that. And unfortunately, because they're interpreting that as a negative, there's probably going to be negative repercussions, at least for a little bit. Whereas somebody else might say, well, thank God, now I get to find a better job. Now I get to start my own business, etc. But at the end of the day, it has to do with who you see yourself as. If you see yourself as an abundant, highly employable person who's very, very talented, you're not going to really worry about losing your job. You know that you're very, very worthy, that you're very, very valuable, and that you have great ability to make plenty of money, etc. You know that your values, you're going to be valued, and that your talents are going to be able to be expressed, and that you're going to get compensated well for them. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on who you want to be. You want to be an abundant person. And when sometimes those things happen, you lose your job or you lose a client, whatever, it might be a test for you to be like, oh no, this is an opportunity for me to assert my abundance. Same thing with the guy. All right, well, say that guy, he didn't text back within an hour. In fact, he never texted again. He ghosted you. Good. Because guess what? The universe protected you from that person. So when anybody disappears from your life, especially romantically, thank your lucky stars. Because that person will do a lot more harm in your life than outside of your life. So see it as a blessing in disguise. So you want to trust the decision after you've made the decision, and then simply act like you trust the decision. You got to slap your wrist. Say, no, remember, we decided to be abundant, or we decided to be happy, right? And really, that immovable sense of happiness is really what we need to go for, right? Because the thing is that if you're feeling emotionally fulfilled within and you're not dependent on externals, you're going to then get externals that align with the internal, right? But if you're looking for other things outside of you to make you happy, you're at the mercy of them, right? Especially, like, for instance, this dipshit who, say, does not text you back, right? You're going to give him the ability to make or break your day, or your jerk employer. She fires you and you're going to let her determine your self-worth. It's completely nonsensical. So you got to make sure that your sense of worthiness, your sense of happiness, your self-esteem or whatever is coming from within you, because unfortunately, we can't control anybody outside of ourselves or anything outside of ourselves. What we can do is control our own selves. And as a result, the universe is going to respond because it's going to reflect back to us the law of correspondence, which we'll talk about. And a nice exercise for the law of vibration is think about what you want in terms of love, right? And, again, I don't like the idea of you focusing on somebody specific, but say you do have somebody specific, and we'll say you don't feel like they like you. There was a song a long time ago, I think in the early 2000s, I think it was by Puddle of Mud, but it was a song that was called She Hates Me. And he's upset because he really likes the girl and he's singing, "She hates me." Well, that's a problem, right? Because if he believes that she hates him, she's not going to be able to love him the way that he wants to be loved, right? So he needs to change that. So if you're looking to find somebody specific and you want to use the law of vibration, you got to change the energy between you. And you got to see her or him responding more kindly to you, right? So if you normally see them as defensive to you, you got to imagine them being more open, more accessible, laughing at your jokes, etc. And when you have the vision in mind, either of a specific person or somebody else that is responding to you in a positive way, move your body. What does your body feel like if you were dancing with them or you're around them? How does your body change? How do you vibrate differently when you're aligned harmoniously with this person? Because what you're doing is you're tuning your instrument. Your body is your instrument. So you got to make sure that you're tuning it to what it is that you want. There's a radio station in which she does not hate you. There's a radio station in which she thinks that you're awesome. And you just got to turn that dial a little bit and find that frequency where she thinks that you are amazing. She thinks that you're so awesome. And you got to zone into that. And then you want to allow yourself to start feeling the vibes. And literally, remember, vibration means, in a way, to shake, rattle, and roll, right? You're actually moving. So you want to allow your body to not just tune to it, but you also want to make sure that you're feeling in a different way and that you're clocking the feeling and that you're feeling it, right? And let your body move differently in alignment with whatever it is that you want, right? So you want to tune your instrument. And just like an instrument, like your piano, you don't tune it once and forget about it, or your guitar. You got to tune it up regularly. So you got to tune yourself to your desire on a regular basis, right? And that could be a nice little practice to do. Maybe you can do that during Virgo season. And then finally, for tonight's class, our law of inspired action. So you got to take action. Action, Jackson, for your satisfaction. To manifest your desires, you got to take action that aligns with them. So this is a complement to the law of attraction. It's action that's paired with attraction. So essentially, you got to allow, remember that old song, I feel the earth move under my feet? Well, say you have a desire, you've got to move the earth, right? You have to be the change in the world, right? In order for the world to change. So think of yourself, especially during Virgo time, think of yourself as a farmer. Nobody works harder than a farmer, but those fields are not going to plow themselves, right? You've got to do the work. Even if it's minor at first, you got to do something. You got to essentially visualize what it is that you want. Play it over in your head over and over again, right? And then allow yourself to have that peace of mind. And then you're going to get a hunch. I think I'm going to call her. I think I'm going to go this way to work, whatever it might be, right? So you got to take action. You got to become an active force in your manifestation. You got to make it happen, essentially, by allowing yourself to create, right? Motion creates the self, right? And one of the easiest things that you can do is really remember you're not having to do this all on your own. Allow your higher self to guide your actions to achieve your goals. So if you think about your higher self, that version of you already has what it is that you want, and that version of you that's more evolved and more mature, sometimes it's easier just to delegate to them what it is that you should be doing. Okay, all right, higher self, you know that I want this, guide me today. If you ask God, the universe, or your higher self for help, you will get the help. So you just got to surrender to it and ask, and it is given. So remember what Newton said, his third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So you want to remember that even if you're taking action on something and it amounts to nothing, say you're asking somebody out on a date and she says no. Well, that doesn't mean that it's over. It means that the universe knows that you've taken action, and yeah, you got to know, but that doesn't mean that you were wrong. You may have asked the wrong person, but that is actually going to have some kind of result that is going to be good for you. So maybe it's going to pave the way for the person who is supposed to say yes, or who's best for you to say yes. So remember, everything that you wind up doing action-wise, it's going to result in something, even if on the surface, it doesn't look like it has. Even if you've, for instance, say you're applying to all these different jobs and you get nothing back. Again, remember, every action is an equal and opposite reaction, even if you wind up not getting a response, even if you get a no. And it's important with the law of inspired action to start small and act now. So even if it's really, really minor, it could be very, very, very simple by visualizing what it is that you want. So you got to take inspired action. And it doesn't mean you have to take massive action, although you can. That's one of the things that you can do, massive action. And some people, I think Tony Robbins, for instance, he might advise that. Taking massive action, going for broke, right? Significant steps or making major decisions that align with your inspiration. This could be changing careers, moving to a new city, starting a big new project. And if you feel inspired to do that, well, go for it. You also might want to take micro actions, small intentional steps that align with your inner guidance. This could be a gratitude list. It could be scripting what it is that you want, meditating on what you want, visualizing your goals, but it's something. You could prepare. Maybe you're not ready to go out and meet new guys, right? Or maybe you're not ready to find that new job, but perhaps you're going to do some research, right? Maybe you're going to plan. Maybe you're going to get in your head what you're going to wear for that interview, etc. You might be inspired to make a phone call, drop an email to somebody. You always, though, got to remember that if you want something that you've never had, you got to do and be what is unfamiliar, right? You got to be somebody that you've never been before, and you got to do things that you never did before. So discomfort is part of the program. You are going to be uncomfortable at first. You're going to most likely be uncomfortable because remember, if you had what it is that you want, you'd already, if you were comfortable with what it is that you want, you'd already have it. So you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Oh, thank you very much, Casma. I really appreciate that. That's very nice of you and very, very generous. Thank you very much. So you're going to be uncomfortable. So you want to get out of your comfort zone. Expect that. Expect yourself to get out of your comfort zone. You might want to educate yourself, or even like Bob's assistant said in our chat. Maybe it's about, focusing on somebody who has what it is that you want, right? Learning from them. Maybe you're going to pursue other education or knowledge. Maybe you'll take a class. Maybe you'll watch a live stream like this. Again, you're investing in yourself when you're investing your time in something like that, right? You could create art. Maybe you'll create a vision board, or maybe you'll create something that you're inspired to do that aligns with what it is that you want. I would say the other thing in terms of inspired action is you got to have boundaries. So for instance, I think especially with Jupiter and Gemini now, if you're catching this live and not a year from now, essentially you can't have what it is that you want if there are too many other things that are going on, right? So say you're looking to have meet somebody and you want to have a wonderful date with this person and you want to have them in your beautiful home. But right now you have your in-laws over and you have your children that are running around, and there's just no way, right? There's just no way you're going to be able to have this perfect guy over for this wonderful romantic date because, well, the environment's not conducive to that. So you need boundaries. If you want to have this guy in your house for a romantic meal, you're going to have to set boundaries, for instance, with your ex and say, look, I'm not taking the kids this weekend, or I'm not going to have my in-laws here. You got to say no to certain things in order for you to say yes to other things. Same thing. If you're looking to do something new in your life, you got to look at how much time you have, right? And unfortunately, there might be some time sucks. So part of your inspired action might be you need to say no to one thing in order for you to say yes to something else. So look at things on a very practical level. If you want something, I'll go, when is it going to happen? Right? Or if you're wasting your time doing something that doesn't fulfill you, well, that's time that you could be spending doing that. So even if you set a boundary, you say no, you finish something up, that too is inspired action, because you're going to need boundaries in order to manifest things. So action, of course, is the foundational key to all success, as Picasso told us. So you want to ground the dream to reality. Remember, motion creates the self. You got to self-identify as somebody who has what it is that you want. You want to trick your body into believing it's already happened. And you want to take action because motion creates the self. And that's the big issue a lot of people say with The Secret, is they say that we can say affirmations all day long and visualize and expect the man of our dreams to come to the door, or us to, get the perfect job. It doesn't work that way. You've got to let the earth move. You got to be like that farmer, right? You got to feel the earth move under your feet. Guided efforts make moves when you're clear-headed and guided by intuition. The most important thing is to make sure that you have peace of mind. That should really be the number one goal. So if you're nervous about getting the new job or getting the relationship, etc., don't even bother. Don't even bother. You want to make sure that your mind is at peace, and then you want to allow yourself to align with what it is that you want, visualize what you want, and let this inspired action be very, very natural. Let it be very organic for you. But make peace of mind your own goal. Action breeds inspiration, of course, so get started, not the other way around. So once you have that peace of mind, then allow yourself to really just start. Like our writer in the audience, Bob's assistant, you can't just write when you're inspired. You have to have a practice, right? Like Stephen King, for instance, he does just 1,000 words a day. He just writes 1,000 words, which is not a lot. But what he does is he does his 1,000 words, supposedly, in the morning. He revises them later in the afternoon. And then the next day, he goes over what he wrote, and then rinse, repeat. He does another 1,000 words. He revises that. The next day, he reviews it, another 1,000 words, etc. But it's consistent. It's only 1,000 words a day. But look at how prolific he is. So it's about consistency. Consistency is really everything. Yeah, so it doesn't come from big sporadic moves, but regular steps. And just like that example in terms of Stephen King, your action that you wind up taking, you're probably going to get inspired while you're doing it. It's almost like the 5-minute thing with working out. Like if you don't want to work out, well, just work out for 5 minutes. If you start working out for 5 minutes, you're probably going to go to 10 or 15, right? You don't want to resist it, right? And when you get into the habit of doing things and you make yourself do them for a little bit, it becomes part of the fiber of your being. And then you just realize, oh, wow, I've changed. And they say 21 days of the new habit, it becomes really a part of you. And then when you find yourself doing it, even when you don't have to do it, that's when you know you've definitely changed. Inspired action and practice, you could, after you visualize your desire and you're comfortable for it, you got to maintain that a calm mind, stemming from inner peace, and do what you know is the next logical step. Follow your excitement, your hunches, your spontaneous ideas, and then make sure that you're safe, right? You never want to do anything that hurts anybody, including yourself. So you want to ask, could this action be harmful to me? Could it be harmful to somebody else? It probably won't be, so just go for it. So you want to follow your integrated excitement. So we always say, follow your excitement like a breadcrumb trail, but remember, it has to be integrated. It might be exciting for you to punch somebody in the face, right? Because they deserve it, and it's just going to feel so good, really excited. Give me an opportunity to punch the person in the face, right? But you could get a battery charge, right? You could really upset your friend who didn't feel that he deserved a punch in the face, etc. So your integrated excitement takes into account your other values. You don't want to go to jail. You don't want to ruin your friendship, etc. Therefore, you're not going to punch your friend in the face. So you want to make sure that you're calm and you're following your integrated excitement that aligns with your other values, i.e., nothing that's going to hurt you and nothing that's going to hurt anybody else. Very important. And remember, again, you're deciding who you want to be. You're trusting the decision. And you're acting like you trust the decision. And acting like you trust the decision could simply be taking inspired action, doing what somebody who believes they are would naturally do. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up class 1 of your 12 spiritual or universal laws? Any questions at all before we conclude? Well, if you do, you can always just put them in the comments and I will answer them later. For not next week, because next week we're going to go over the new moon, but the week after that, we'll give you a brief recap of tonight's class. We'll talk about the law of attraction, which most of you are probably familiar with, the law of correspondence, and the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. As always, thank you all so much for joining me, especially in the chat, but even if you're catching this on the replay, please like and subscribe to my channel if you are so inclined. And do check out my website, psychicsun.com. I do readings, coaching, parties, gift certificates, including your horoscopes for the latest lunation. All of my links are in the description below. And thank you all again for joining me on this stream. And also catch me tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for This Week Astrology. Every Friday, we go over the astrological aspects for the week. Take care, everybody, and I shall see you soon. Bye-bye.